Hey YouTube, here's Heiko coming to you with another random project. I'm working on finally finishing up our staircase. I made a few videos of how I fixed the stairs, and then I relocated one of those fire-rated garage doors from the top of the stairs to the bottom of the stairs. You can see it down there. Yeah, let me turn on some light. Oh, the light is already on. Huh. Anyways, and now I'm finishing the walls. Since we took some walls out, I had sections in the wall. Let me turn that around real quick. All right, guys. So here in this section, as you can see, the popcorn ceiling is different color because this used to be the staircase down into the garage. I removed the wall where the door was installed, and so we had textured wall and textured wall with a drywall repair in the middle, which was of course not textured. And instead of trying to match the texture, you know, the charm of the 1970s, like here, we have that all over the house, unfortunately. I decided to skim coat the whole wall, or pretty much all the walls surrounding the stairs. To get it flat, it's pretty simple. It's really not rocket science. You get yourself some universal joint compound from Home Depot, Lowe's, your local hardware store. Universal joint compound looks like, my kids always call it vanilla ice cream. That stuff, you can buy it as pre-mix in a bucket, or you can buy it in a bag and then mix it yourself. I opted for the 5-gallon bucket. And then you need a couple joint knives, taping knives, whatever you want to call it, different sizes. Reason why is I have a smaller sections here on this wall where I can't use a huge taping knife, but for the big surfaces like here I use a, I don't know, it's a 12-inch, maybe 12-inch taping knife. And then you just coat the entire wall. Here are 3 steps. First one is primer. That just helps the joint compound to stick to the old, you know, here in this case 40-year-old house, probably 40-year-old paint. And then the first layer of joint compound, which covered most of the bumps and unevenness of the coating, and then the second layer. And how you do it is just start at the bottom of a wall and then work your way up. So that whenever you take your taping knife, you load it up the edge with some joint compound, you always scrape into the section that you already did. So you always feather it in. And yeah, after the second layer of this stuff, it's getting pretty smooth. I mean, it's kind of hard to see here in the light. It's never going to be perfect. You know, it's not as flat as a fresh sheet of drywall, but it's flat enough. And then joint compound is relatively soft and forgiving. You can just get your sanding block out and sand over it. You know, if you have some, like, I don't know if you can see that here, the taping knife left a little bit of a line in the joint compound. You can just sand that out, you know, a little bit of dust, and then paint it. You know, buy either a primer and then paint, or you buy paint mixed with primer. And if you don't like the super flat kind of non-textured surface of a skim coated wall, you can always then afterwards hire someone, a professional drywaller, with a texturing gun and get modern type knockdown texture sprayed onto your wall. You know, it is pretty flat. I gotta say, it's pretty smooth, and a lot of people don't like that, but we will see. You can always afterwards put new texture on modern type texture. But this is better than having you know, repaired sections with no texture and, you know, some old 1970s texturing. Yeah, and then once I'm done with all this, I'm gonna paint the whole thing. The big opening that we created here, we open up the wall between the dining room and the staircase. Same deal up there. Strip with no texture or no popcorn ceiling. So my next step before painting is gonna be doing something to the popcorn ceiling. And in in terms of removing popcorn sealing, scraping it off, and then having the sealing retextured. I'm not going to do that. What I did here, just as a little experiment, I knocked down the popcorn sealing ever so slightly with a taping knife or with a joint knife. Just scraped it off so all those loose little particles fall down. And then I primed it. So this is just popcorn sealing with primer on it, and it already looks much, much flatter and not as, not as fluffy as popcorn sealing usually looks. And then the big advantage is you can now touch your sealing and nothing falls down. And that's really the biggest concern or problem that I have with popcorn sealing, that you touch the ceiling and something falls down. Kids throw a ball and hits the ceiling and the white stuff comes falling down like it's snowing in your house. And with primer on it, it doesn't do that anymore. So I knocked it down, and then I used my drywall sander and just sanded it a little bit, made it all a little more even and flat. And then I put some Kilz Universal latex primer on it, and that's what it looks like. And I believe once I take some latex paint, flat or matte or whatever sheen you pick for your ceilings, and paint it a couple times, it's going to fill in even more of those little cracks and voids and little divots, and it's going to look much nicer. And once it's white and not dirty popcorn sealing looking like, it's actually not that bad. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on: skim coating and popcorn sealing. The way of least resistance and least amount of work. All right, I hope that video will help someone one day, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up and please subscribe. Thanks, take care.